Ignorance is bliss. You've heard that phrase your whole life. And for most people, it's basically true. They walk into a room, feel the vibe, and move on with their day. But some people can't do that. Some people walk into a room and their brain starts running a full diagnostic. Who's uncomfortable? Who's faking a smile? Why the conversation just got quiet? What that one comment actually meant underneath the words, and it doesn't stop there. Because 5 minutes later, that same brain turns the lens on itself. Why did I feel that? Why did I react that way? What does it say about me that I noticed all of this in the first place? If this sounds exhausting, that's because it is. There's a name for this. It's not anxiety exactly. It's not just being sensitive. It's a specific psychological state called hyperawareness. And for the people living inside it, it's less of a superpower and more of a quiet, constant tax on every single moment of their life. Today, we're going inside the mind of the hyperaware. Why it happens, what it's actually doing to the brain, and why, for some people, knowing more about their own mind has become the very thing making it harder to live in. Here's where it starts. Something called metacognitive overload. Metacognition just means thinking about your own thinking. Everyone does it a little. You notice you're nervous before a presentation. You catch yourself being petty in an argument. Normal, healthy, even. But for the hyperaware brain, metacognition doesn't switch off. It runs constantly in the background, narrating everything in real time. You're not just having a conversation. You're having a conversation while simultaneously monitoring your tone, your word choice, the other person's micro-reactions, and your own internal response to their reaction. All at once, all the time. Think about it like this. Most people experience a moment and move on. The hyperaware brain experiences the moment, then immediately opens a second window to analyze the moment, then a third window to analyze why it needed to analyze it. It's mental tabs that never close. And here's the exhausting part. This isn't a choice. It's not a habit you can just decide to stop. The observing mind and the experiencing mind are supposed to take turns. In hyperawareness, they're both running at full volume, permanently, competing for the same limited mental bandwidth. Quick question before we go further. Does this sound like your brain or someone you know? Drop a comment because I want to know how many of you are nodding right now. Now let's go deeper into the machinery behind this. Because a lot of hyperawareness isn't purely mental. It's physiological. It starts in a tiny almond-shaped structure deep in your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala's job is threat detection. In most people, it fires when something genuinely dangerous happens, then settles back down. In the hyperaware brain, it's stuck in a state researchers call hypervigilance, constantly scanning the environment for danger, even when there's no danger at all. This is why hyperaware people pick up on things others completely miss. A slight change in someone's tone, a pause that's a half second too long. The tension in a room before anyone's actually said anything is wrong. Their amygdala is treating social information like survival information, because at some point, often early in life, it learned that missing a signal had real consequences. Here's the catch. This hyperactive radar doesn't come with an off switch. It's brilliant at gathering data. It's terrible at knowing when to stop. So the same system that helps someone read a room with almost supernatural accuracy is the exact same system that won't let their nervous system fully relax, ever, even in objectively safe environments. Picture your amygdala as a smoke detector that's a little too sensitive. It's not wrong that smoke is dangerous. It's just going off every time you make toast. But here's where this gets genuinely complicated. Because you'd think all this extra awareness would make someone wiser, more in control, more prepared for life. For a lot of hyper-aware people, it does the exact opposite. It becomes a trap so specific that psychologists have a name for it. And once we explain how it actually works, you're going to recognize it instantly, either in yourself or in someone you love. Before we get into that, if this is hitting close to home, hit subscribe right now because we go deep into psychology like this every single week. And drop a like if you've ever caught yourself overanalyzing something you just said 5 minutes after you said it, I have a feeling this comment section is about to get very real. Let's keep going. The trap is called analysis paralysis. And here is exactly how it works. A hyper-aware person doesn't just feel an emotion. They feel it and then immediately start dissecting it. Why am I anxious right now? Is this actually anxiety or is it something else? What triggered it? Does this connect to something from years ago? Is my reaction proportional or am I overreacting? And by the time they've asked all of that, the moment that actually caused the feeling is long gone. But the analysis is still running. This is where overthinking stops being a mental habit and starts becoming a full identity. Simple decisions turn into research projects. A text message gets reread 11 times before sending. A completely normal social interaction gets replayed on a loop at 2 a.m., searching for a mistake that was never actually made. The tragic irony here is real. The more self-aware someone becomes, the more raw material their brain has to analyze, which means more opportunities to get stuck. Self-awareness was supposed to be the reward for paying attention. For a lot of hyper-aware people, it becomes the very thing keeping them from just living inside their own life. Here's a question worth sitting with. Have you ever made a genuinely simple decision take way longer than it should have? Just because you couldn't stop analyzing every possible outcome? Tell me about it in the comments. I guarantee you're not the only one. So here's the real question underneath all of this. Is hyperawareness a gift or is it a quiet form of isolation? The honest answer is, it's genuinely both. And that's exactly what makes it so hard to live with. On one hand, hyperaware people often have real, measurable advantages. They read people accurately. They catch problems before they escalate. They tend to have deep, nuanced empathy because they're constantly modeling other people's internal states, not just their own. But here's the cost nobody talks about enough. Most people around them are operating on a completely different frequency. They're not picking up on the tension in the room. They're not replaying the conversation later, which means the hyper-aware person is often the only one in the room actually experiencing what's happening. And that can feel less like insight and more like a very specific, very quiet kind of loneliness. There's also a deeper layer to this. The more a person becomes aware of the constructed, changeable nature of their own thoughts, emotions, and identity, the more that awareness can spiral into something existential. If I can observe my own personality from the outside, what part of me is actually real? That's not a comfortable question, and hyper-aware minds tend to ask it more often than most people ever will. So here's what I want to leave you with. Hyper-awareness isn't a disorder, and it's not a superpower either, despite what internet quizzes might tell you. It's a nervous system and a mind that are simply running hotter than most, picking up more signal, generating more analysis all the time, without an easy way to power down. If this is you, the goal was never to become less aware. It's learning when to let the observing mind rest, even for a few minutes, so the experiencing mind actually gets to live the moment it's in. If you recognize yourself somewhere in this video, you are absolutely not alone, and I'd genuinely love to hear about it. Drop a comment and tell me which part hit hardest. Whether it was the overthinking, the hypervigilance, or that quiet isolation we talked about near the end. I read every single one, and if you want more deep dives into the psychology of the mind that never quite switches off, subscribe and turn on notifications because we're covering this exact territory again very soon. See you in the next one.